Okay, so we're gonna get rolling, and anybody else that shows up will just have to show up. So, all right, today we are super lucky to have Adam P. Smith from Inglewood, Colorado. There's the Inglewood, California, right? So, um,
There is.
so Adam has been in the business. He's had his own broker shop for just about 20 years. And Adam's a superstar producer, but he's on here because he does such an excellent job with social media. And I noticed has a big presence on LinkedIn. In fact, he's got over 12,000 followers. And for mortgage guys, that's a lot. So look, we got somebody else. All right. And but first, Adam, I want to get back to put on your time capsule hat and let's go back 20 years when you first got going in the business. Do you remember how you first got your first few loans?
This was before I was a broker owner, obviously. And I think at the time I was basically given a call sheet, just names, addresses, and phone numbers, literally in Excel, and a copy of KLIX and a pat on the bottom. Good luck, kid. And yeah, just started dialing for dollars. But obviously, this is long before the invention or inception of social media.
Right. So you started cold calling. Were you cold calling agents or prospects or
Homeowners. Yeah.
homeowners?
Yeah, I've never had, I mean, don't get me wrong. Originating loans is a relationship business. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I do maintain relationships with a lot of people. Some of them happen to be real estate agents, but I'm not really in favor of how that model looks. I don't think it's any surprise that the majority of loan originators, and this is probably vice versa as well, look at having to pander to real estate agents as something of a curse. And unfortunately, it's been that way for decades. When I started in the business, and those of you that have been around for a minute know that there were loan originators popping by real estate offices with stupid shit like donuts and rate sheets back when we had rate sheets, and basically begging for business. And it just doesn't appeal. It never really did. And I think if we understand that there's some inherent issues with that, like one, that's not how we build a repeat and referral business. We really want our business to be solely structured on repeat clients, client referrals, that kind of thing. That's how we maintain a strict repeat and referral business. Granted, having relationships with advocates like real estate agents, divorce attorneys, and there are thousands that we don't think of on a day-to-day basis, like wedding planners, who don't get the kind of love from loan originators that real estate agents do, yet they happen to be involved when the psychological trigger that leads to the buying and selling of homes occurs, that those possibilities are virtually limitless. They really are. But I think it's important for loan originators to understand that while you may have relationships with real estate agents, real relationships like you do with your clients, with your team, with other people, that they are going to want to see you succeed. They're going to want to make sure that you can put your kids through college. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much where it ends for me, is that a relationship business, a referral partner relationship, has to be an actual relationship, because the vast majority of real estate agents are getting so many of these, the stupid Monday core calls or whatever the case may be. And back in the day, we were, in droves delivering donuts and rate sheets and stupid crap like that. So being able to break through that and work on it as an actual relationship, and not something where you just hope and pray that real estate agents are throwing you deals, because they have relationships with other loan originators already. So those people may screw up and you may see a deal, but you know full well it's going to be a 520 borrower with no money to put down. They really couldn't finance a free trip to the zoo. And then the realtor is going to want you to somehow make a loan out of it.
Right.
So yeah, it's very, very different, I guess, in my mind, as it has been preached
Well,
to originators over the decades?
I agree with you 100%. And really, we're forced to make a change now because you can't really walk in the office. I used to be able to walk into a real estate office and just chit chat with a half a dozen real estate agents. Well, you can't do that anymore. And now there's no agents in the office anyway.
They're not there, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, so we're forced to change things. And then, of course, now we have the advent of social media. And I want to bridge over because today's call is focused on LinkedIn. So I noticed that you do a lot of posts, you do a lot of videos. And so tell us, like, first of all, have you had much success in maybe turning cold calls into warm calls through LinkedIn?
Sure, absolutely. LinkedIn, well, let's back up a minute and let's just address LinkedIn as part of a total social media environment, because I do think it's important. I do think everybody needs to be active and proactive on their social media. I do also want to make sure that everybody understands that LinkedIn is a unique niche when it comes to LinkedIn, Facebook, Insta, TikTok, YouTube. Let's not exclude YouTube as a social media platform. And that LinkedIn provides some benefits that the others really don't. However, I want to make sure that everybody understands we don't build on rented land. LinkedIn could be gone tomorrow. Facebook could be gone tomorrow. It's completely out of our control. So please, whatever you do, make sure that if you are active in your social media, what we would refer to as time in the box, hockey fan, that you're spreading that love around amongst all the platforms, that you're not strictly focused on one. And they do all provide different audiences, different benefits, those kinds of things. But one of the most important things is to make sure that you understand that social media should be an audience. Facebook, LinkedIn, this is not about friends and family. This is not strictly about the people you work with, having connections with the real estate agents you're already dealing with, the clients you've already dealt with, the people on your team, whatever the case may be, that this has to be treated like an audience. What you want is the most people consuming the most of your content that you can possibly drive. So we pay close attention to the social media platforms, to their algorithms, those kinds of things, so that we know we're driving the most consumption of our content as we can.
Right. And I don't know if you follow Gary Vee, but
I've spoken with Gary. Yeah. Well, in fact, you and I both saw Gary Vee in Atlanta the last time we saw each other.
that's right. That's right. Yeah. So I'm a big follower, and he really preaches that the posts have to be contextual to the platform. That when you're on LinkedIn, you have kind of a professional mindset. You know, if you're on TikTok, then you have more of a jovial, trite mindset. So you can't just make a video and post it everywhere and say, hey, you know, this is what the market's doing today, and expect to get a good response on different platforms.
Well, I've got news for all of you. Nobody cares what the market is doing today.
Right.
There, you are going to be hard pressed to find a subject more boring than mortgages. Maybe tax law, maybe 1932 baseball statistics, but that's about it. Okay. So the big piece of the puzzle when we're talking about social media platforms outside of LinkedIn, and you know, I am not going to contradict Gary. I think if we were to find a soul on this planet who has the greatest grip on how the human condition interacts with social media, it's him. Okay, so one of the events he and I both got to speak at, and by the way, following Gary Vee is no picnic. You do not want to have to get on the stage after that man.
Right.
Not that I can't drop the volume of F-bombs that he does. I'm doing well there. But what he said to me at that time, and this was years ago, but we were talking about the future of SEO and what that looks like. And I think we all know that the days of Yahoo banner ads are long gone. That what will actually occur going down the road is that at some point I'm going to say, hey Siri, hey Alexa, hey Google, help me get a mortgage. And you want to make sure that that platform is going to bring you into that consumer's living room when they ask that question. And Gary's belief is that in order to do that, you've got to be so active across all social media platforms. The number he actually gave me was 40. You need to have 40 posts across all platforms a day. All right, now everybody in the room got deer in the headlights kind of look. And at the time, Gary was talking about wine. And wine is a hell of a lot more interesting than mortgages. If you do 40 posts per day about mortgages across all your platforms, you're going to lose audience, not gain audience, because it's still a boring subject. So I would say somewhere in the neighborhood of half that is appropriate, but I want to make sure that you guys understand that the vast majority of social media needs to be about who you are, not what you do. If your audience doesn't already know what you do, then you're failing. You need to go back to marketing 101. Everybody knows what you do. You're originating loans, you're a mortgage banker, you're a mortgage broker, you're a loan originator, whatever the case may be, however you want to dub yourself. People know that. And in your content, you're going to have calls to action. We end every one of our videos. Hey, if you want more information about us, if you know somebody looking for a mortgage, use our text code. That's the price the viewer has to pay for me spending the time putting the video content together. Okay, so LinkedIn is a different animal. While we would typically recommend that people do 80 to 90% versus 10 to 20 of who you are, not what you do, LinkedIn, you can kind of flip that. You can be a lot more business oriented, mortgage oriented, more about the what you do than the who you are, but don't let it get lost, because it's a people business. People are attracted to the who you are, not the what you do.
I think what you're basically talking about is the jab, 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 hook strategy, where you entertain, you do something personal, and then business. Maybe with LinkedIn, you take one of the jabs out, and maybe 2/3 versus a third business. But also you can take business and make it more interesting, right? Nobody cares that they just raised the Fannie Mae loan limit from 620 to 640. Okay.
And yet every one of the vast majority of loan originators, even real estate agents, will post that content,
okay,
despite how boring it is.
But Adam, a story about a young couple that wants to live in Buckhead. I don't know if you're familiar with Atlanta.
Sure.
A young couple who works for a law firm downtown and needs to live downtown, where it's so super expensive. It's their first home. They only have 3% down, and this increase allowed them to get a Fannie Mae loan and buy a house. All of a sudden that little story is more interesting than just, it's now 647,200.
No, you nailed it. We sell with storytelling.
Right.
And Steve Sims, Renee Rodriguez. I mean, these are all people that we're obviously paying attention to in our space today. And I mean, even as far back as, oh gosh, I guess just in the history of sales technique, sales training, sales tactics, selling with stories is a staple. It's a standard.
So let me ask you to some specific questions about your campaigns. It looks like you have maybe 3 different channels going on LinkedIn. You do market updates, you do some little bit more of stories for loan officers to help them with their business, informational videos, and then do you do something that's targeted to consumers? Kind of tell me what your game plan is.
So this is probably a better question for one of my LOAs, the one that handles all the marketing. I have 5 of them right now. So one of those campaigns is, yes, the opening and closing bell, okay, from the MBS. And we all know what this is. Everybody's either subscribing to Barry or to Brian or to Hammer or whatever the case may be. So we're getting that data. So one of the campaigns that we do is the opening and closing bell. So right there, guys, is 2 of those posts on a single platform every day, right? So when we're talking about having 20, 25 posts per day across all platforms, we're killing a bunch of birds with that stone. So the market opens, we use a specific graphic. Stephen, am I going to be able to share my screen? Because I'm happy to.
No, but it shows the closing bond numbers.
It does, with a specific graphic that is geared towards my business. Okay, the graphic's created once. We merely plug in the data at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day. It's a very brief, probably 5-minute all day total time exercise to get that graphic. Then yes, one of the things that we do, and if you have a decent LinkedIn audience, you should be given access to LinkedIn Live. So you can do live videos on LinkedIn. LinkedIn does require a third-party streaming software. You can get OBS for free. StreamYard is very cheap. There are a number of other platforms. I certainly recommend getting one or more, particularly when one of them is free, and tinkering with that. It will enable you to do that. So once a week, we stream to LinkedIn Live, what you're referring to as our weekly podcast, How I Met Your Mortgage.
Okay, so that's the other one, the How I Met Your Mortgage.
How I Met Your Mortgage. Yep.
So that's with past customers?
No, that is strictly on lead gen techniques and tactics. So it's other loan originators, other top producing real estate agents, people that are experts in a specific social media space. It is literally, the guests are, and this is our 5th season. We're already booked through next year on a weekly podcast. So there's no shortage of people wanting to provide that kind of content, but it's strictly for an audience of loan originators, real estate agents, maybe financial planners, insurance agents that want to learn what other people are doing to generate more business, essentially.
And you have as your guests successful LOs and real estate agents?
For the most part, I would say that covers 75% of the guests.
Okay, so then there's a third channel, right? Do you do any other like personal posts or anything?
Well, obviously we do the weekly little tip. That's our video blog that ends up being uploaded into LinkedIn's native platform. And again, similar type of content, although from a very personal place. The one we shot this week was really just kind of circumnavigating how important it is to be courteous and professional with everyone. Because even if you don't like them, even if you wouldn't have a relationship with them, even if you wouldn't refer business back and forth with them, they're going to come back around, even in cities the size of Denver, Atlanta, so on and so forth. I picked up a client this week. Coincidentally, their new agent is somebody I'd worked with before. We're not good friends. We've worked together before, and we have no qualms about working together again. But if I really exhibited my true spirit, if I let my freak flag fly about how I feel about the vast majority of real estate agents, then they would think I'm a complete asshole, and it would be a friction-loaded transaction from the start.
So those videos are the ones, just so I have it right in my mind, that are more edited, and then there's also some humor mixed in, right?
Correct. Yep, they're shot in the studio.
Okay.
I script once a week. We shoot raw video in front of the green screen once a week. Those assets, plus all of the photo, copy, call to action, all of those assets are shipped off to my VA in the Philippines. She does all the editing, returns the finished product.
Do you have any issues with not necessarily language barrier, but where communication in general with your VA video editor?
No, none at all. Although I do think that that would be a significant problem. We did go through a number of VAs before finding Julie is her name. And yeah, we've been able to eliminate all of those concerns.
Awesome. Okay, so anything else? Now, what about building? So you have 12,000. Do you just wait for people to contact you, or do you ever invite people?
Oh, no, we invite people like it's going out of style. Again, remember, your social media needs to be treated like an audience. You want to have as many people consuming as much of your content as is possible. LinkedIn, one of the beauties of it versus a lot of other social media platforms like Facebook, doesn't really, well, it does limit you to the number of connections that you can have, but if you hit that number, I'd be surprised. We're probably all too old to accomplish that before we're dead. I think it's 35,000, whereas your Facebook friends limit is 5,000. Okay, so we've obviously hit that limit for a long time, and we do exercise some Facebook audience fine-tuning techniques, and we do that every day or every other day. It's a 5-minute every morning exercise kind of thing. When it comes to LinkedIn, however, that exercise is very different. for about 10 minutes a week, I go into the My Network tab on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, just like Facebook, will make all kinds of suggestions about who should be in your audience and takes them. And literally, I will click, 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 add, until LinkedIn says you've reached your weekly limit. And then I just move on.
Which I think is 100.
Is it? Okay, that may very well be. I haven't counted as I'm doing it, but that wouldn't surprise me. But this is a technique that basically enables me, looking at the rough numbers over a couple of year period, to add roughly 6,000 people to my audience per year, about 500 a month. Yeah, that may actually be about right. If it's 100, then the remaining 20% would come from people sending me requests. But if I can add 6,000 people to my audience every year, the number of people consuming my content is going to grow exponentially. Okay, let's back up a little bit though, because I do think that there are some important tools when it comes to LinkedIn that should be discussed. I do think it's important for everybody to understand that LinkedIn and Google are in bed together. They've even done real estate deals together. And that if I am giving your name, Lauren, I'm going to call you out. If I give Lauren's name to somebody, hey, this is who you want to use your mortgage, they're going to Google Lauren. And I promise you, Lauren's LinkedIn profile, if she's doing LinkedIn right, is going to come up in the top 3 every time without equivocation. This is now her modern day resume. I'm going to go look at her LinkedIn profile. It needs to be robust. It needs to be correct. It needs to be accurate. It needs to be up to date. You need to have all of your publications in there. Have you written for National Mortgage Professional? Have you published a book? These kinds of things. You also need to make sure that your work history looks nice and tight and clean. I see a lot of loan originators that bounce from company to company to company and never really do things to clean that up, and they don't look valuable. They don't look resourceful. They don't look dependable. They don't look constant. They don't look consistent if they are with a different mortgage company every 9 months. So clean that kind of thing up. Really make sure that your LinkedIn profile is complete, that it's robust, that it's accurate, and that you are doing things like asking people to write you recommendations. I'm not talking about the LinkedIn endorsements, because that's just clicky kind of shit that people can do. I'm legitimately telling you to ask people to write you those endorsements. I can't remember exactly what LinkedIn is referring to them now.
They're called recommendations.
They are recommendations.
I'm going to go through a presentation with them on some of the mechanics of that. Okay,
good. So I do think that it's important to understand how valuable LinkedIn is merely because of how valuable Google is. Okay, so really put some weight in here. Okay, the other thing that's really neat about LinkedIn is it gives you this opportunity to basically attack it with a scalpel. You guys have ideal colleagues. Who do you really respect? Who do you follow? Who is crushing
Adam P.
it?
Smith.
Who is crushing it in the mortgage space? Go follow them. Go see who else is following them. Go see who they follow. Now, more importantly, let's move that into the next step and talk about advocates, people who are in a position to refer business to you, right? Real estate agents, divorce attorneys, wedding planners, high school counselors. If you're not considering some of these other more obscure potential advocates, referral partners like the wedding planner, like the baby store registry manager, like high school guidance counselors. If you have kids in high school and you talk to their guidance counselor and you aren't thinking through to the fact that these people know an entire fucking list of people that are about to be empty nesters, you're doing it wrong. Really back up a minute from your referral partner relationship mentality. Think about where the psychological triggers that lead to the buying and selling and refinancing of homes occur, and think about who's involved at that step in the process. I don't want a referral from a real estate agent because at that point, the decision to buy a home's already been made. I want to back that up some. I want to be involved when the decision is made, not after it's been made. Okay, LinkedIn is giving me an opportunity to do a lot of that. So when I'm looking at those ideal referral partners, not only am I able to connect with them on LinkedIn, but I'm able to see who else they're connected with. Who else might be in their space that might be a good advocate? Let's take it a step further. Let's talk about your ideal clients, right? These people just bought $1 million home. They put 40% down. They fell within the qualified mortgage laws. They fell within the conforming mortgage limits. They had all their shit organized. They had an 806 credit score. Let's go see who they run with in LinkedIn. Let's go follow their business on LinkedIn. Let's try to connect with the other people that work with this person on LinkedIn. It's really going to give you a significant opportunity to really build up an audience that's more fine-tuned to your ideal referral partner, to your ideal client, to your ideal colleague. And don't get me wrong, this is not abnormal for somebody to eventually call me and say, hey, we're moving to Atlanta. Oh, well, you should call Steven. He's been there. He's been there forever. He's been in mortgages forever, and he knows what he's doing. So they'll look him up on Google. They'll find his LinkedIn profile. And if Steven and I aren't connected on LinkedIn, then shame on us.
We are. I agree 100% with what you're saying. I'm going to ask you one more question because I want to be respectful of your time. Have you given any thought to an actual LinkedIn meetup at a Starbucks or a restaurant or a bar, contacting everybody in your group just to have kind of a community network meeting?
No, I haven't, but that's probably an Adam hang-up. I am not the social butterfly that I was, and certainly not the social butterfly that loan originators should be. And I don't know if some of that is just age or if some of that's a lingering result of the pandemic, those kinds of things. And I am trying to change my mental shift about that. But I will give you guys one little hack. Do a Google search on LinkedIn Helper. This is a plugin for LinkedIn that will provide you all kinds of amazing tools where you literally could use their tool to send a private message to everybody one time. Write your message, send to everyone, click on go. There used to be a Facebook toolkit that provided that as well. Facebook got angsty about it. But LinkedIn is providing a lot more freedom in what you can and can't do on their platform. None of you has ever heard of LinkedIn jail. Let me put it that way.
Right. Awesome. Thank you so much. Does anybody have a real quick question for Adam? Because I want to be respectful of his time. So listen, I think that the information, I took a bunch of notes here. I think the information you gave us was fantastic. I really appreciate it, Adam. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks. You too. Good to see you.
Are you going to Las Vegas for the mastermind or the LinkedIn or the LO connection or what?
No, I don't think I have either on the agenda right now. I know there are a couple of trips to Vegas this fall, as always. We will be having our 6th annual mastermind here in Denver again this fall. You're certainly all welcome. If you guys want to use our text code, you can text TIPS, TIPS, to 63566. It'll ping you back all kinds of shit about us, and including including the event that we have every September. Denver's a fine place to be in the fall.
Yep.
Adam will attest.
Well, have a great day. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you later.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thank
bye-bye.
you.
Okay, so Adam is a great guy to know and be connected to. He does a lot of things right. LinkedIn's just one of the things that he does right. And he's really got a handle on social media marketing. I want to go over this. I want to go over this presentation real quick. But did anybody watch the videos that I assigned? So, Adam, some of them were only 3 minutes.
Yeah, I didn't see the invites in time to go through. I didn't actually read the invite to see all of those items, so I missed them.
Okay, so there was a lot of good information about, Lauren, did you watch any of those? There was a lot of good information about setting up your profile and so forth. So I do think it's worth it to go back and watch those.
They were very, very quick. little videos. So they are very easy to get through.
Okay. So, so I'm going to go through this presentation on LinkedIn. Let me, whoops. You know, I'm not the greatest with the technology here. So we're going to do a share screen. Let's try this. And then. Okay, do you see the full screen? Let's see.
Yeah, we see the full screen, not your notes.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, you can hear me and see the full screen. All right. Okay, so we talked about, we've had these classes on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and now LinkedIn. I'm going to close my door real quick. So why LinkedIn? Don't we have enough social media? Well, LinkedIn is the #1 directory for professionals. You can see on this little chart that when it comes to B2B business, LinkedIn far exceeds the other platforms. There's over 800 million users. 59% of the users are between 25 and 34, which is excellent demographic for us as far as buying their first home. LinkedIn has excellent organic reach, and organic means that it's not paid for. Basically, if you were to open up a Facebook account today and you didn't have any friends and you posted something, very few people would see it. Okay. Same thing with Instagram, but LinkedIn and right now TikTok as well has excellent organic reach. So your post is more likely to go to new people that are not in your network. Adam, do you understand the terms B2B and B2C?
Yeah, B2B is business to business. B2C is business to consumer.
Exactly. And Lauren, are we, as loan officers, are we more B2B or B2C?
Well, we should be B2C.
We could be.
But
So
we're probably more B2B.
we're both, right? Because real estate agents are B2B and then the borrowers are B2C. So we're actually both. So almost 50% of the users have income over $75,000 a year, which means they can afford to buy a house. And users on LinkedIn, they're more serious about making financial decisions. Usually, you know, you're on TikTok while you're waiting for your wife to get dressed and you got 7 minutes to kill. But if you're logging on to LinkedIn, chances are there's something on your mind that you want to investigate. So you have more of a serious mindset. And LinkedIn is where the money is. These are the people, the movers and shakers, the ones that have money and good jobs. Okay, your profile. This is the most important part. And Adam Smith talked about this. Your profile on LinkedIn, more than any other platform, is your working resume. This is where people go to see what you're all about in business-wise. So some key points here: set up a custom URL. LinkedIn allows you to do this so that you don't just have some random numbers and letters. You can actually have it set up so that it is LinkedIn/Lauren Akins. That one's probably taken, but you could still come up with something good. So use a professional profile picture. So on Facebook, you have one with your kids and your spouse and your pets, and that's fun. But on LinkedIn, you want it to be just you and be a professional looking picture. The headline should be more interesting than your job title. So don't just say, I originate mortgages. Say something like, I help people buy their first home. Something that's a little bit more interesting. You obviously want to add your contact information. You want to include your critical skills in the summary section and include keywords. So if you specialize in VA loans, or you're certified to do VA loans, or reverse mortgages, or you specialize in helping first-time home buyers, whatever it is, you want to put that in there. Also, LinkedIn allows you to add a video. So if you make an evergreen video that says, introducing you and your team or whatnot, or even a video about how you've lived in the community all your life. Frederick, you grew up here in Atlanta, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So, you don't have a lot of mortgage experience and so forth, but we can make a connection because I grew up here in Atlanta. Okay. So you list your work history, and Adam Smith was exactly right. If you've bounced around from company to company, I mean, this is not a legal document. You don't have to put that you worked at, the Walgreens for 6 weeks to make extra money. You don't have to put that. You can clean up your work history so that it looks simple and it looks consistent. List your schooling. Is your schooling important? To me, not very important, but it's a good connector. So I went to the University of Georgia. So I went to Emory my first year. That is totally meaningless. Nobody knows anything about Emory or cares. But I went to the University of Georgia and graduated there after my freshman year. And everybody likes that because everybody likes the Bulldogs. I'm in the state of Georgia, so it's a connection. I put my high school only because it's local. If I went to high school, in a different city, nobody would care. Okay. Have recommendations. We're going to talk about that. That is where they're like little endorsements. It's kind of like a letter of recommendation, except it's in LinkedIn and they have a certain process for doing that. And choose an interesting background so that it doesn't just give you I think it's a blue background that everybody has. So this gives you an idea of what your profile should look like. So you see, she chose this background of the Golden Gate Bridge. It's very pretty and interesting. And also, I kind of remember that. You'll remember this person associated with that. Of course, it's nice if you live in San Francisco Bay Area. But so she has a news editor, and I actually would tell her to make it more interesting, a more interesting title, like I bring the news to people on a daily basis, or something that's a little bit more interesting. She's got her summary down here, and also she put 4 different videos. So you can also, it says media because it does, I think having a video is the most important. But if you were to have written an article that was published, or you have some other kind of media, you can put it there too. So that's kind of what your LinkedIn profile should look like. And she's got a picture that is just her face, like a headshot. Okay, so LinkedIn recommendations. So this is what we were talking about earlier. You can go, there's a recommendation section, you hit the plus sign. And what I would recommend is writing a recommendation for somebody that you admire. Describe the relationship. And, it doesn't matter whether it's, a local business person. They don't have to be like a big shot in the community. If they are a big shot, it's even better. But if not, you could just say that, maybe it was a college professor that you had, if you're still young enough that you remember them, or somebody like that. So you mentioned your relationship, you mentioned kind of a standout trait. They were always, when I first got started, they were always kind to me. Add something personal so it's not too stiff, and then end with a solid recommendation. I highly recommend so-and-so. Okay, then let the person know that you're going to post a recommendation on a LinkedIn profile and ask if they would like to review it before you post it. And of course, they're going to say yes. Of course, they're going to like it. Who doesn't like somebody complimenting them? After they agree and show appreciation, ask them, hey, listen, if you ever get a chance, could you write one for me? Well, what are they going to say? No. So yeah, they'll write one, and that will help you get recommendations. Okay, the other thing that Adam Smith touched on, which is super important, is building your network. So, you know, this is, we talk about this before. This is how you build your community. I mean, I hope that you're going to do mortgages like me for the next 29 years. Okay. But who knows where life's going to take you? No matter where you are, what you're doing, having your community to support you is going to be a big boost to your success. You can connect to your Outlook phone list. So you can actually have LinkedIn scour your whole Outlook phone book, which it would include, you know, all the Van Dyke employees and all your peeps. You may or may not want them to do that, but they're going to pop them up as suggestions. They're not going to just auto add them. You can search your current and previous company employees if you've already made connections here at Van Dyke, or if you have connections still at a former employer. That's a great place. Connect with your friends and family on other social media platforms. You can ask them, you can say, hey, listen, I'm just getting my LinkedIn going and we're friends on Facebook. Would you connect with me there? You can actually make a post with a link, and then people will jump over and link with you on other social media platforms. You can join LinkedIn groups. Now, in my opinion, LinkedIn has groups just like Facebook groups. In my opinion, they're not as good as Facebook groups. They don't get the interaction. A lot of it is just people advertising and spamming. But for our purposes, if you joined a loan officer LinkedIn group, or a group, actually loan officer group would not be the best. The best would be something if you're into pickleball or gardening or one of those LinkedIn groups. You would have a whole bunch of people. You go in there, you make some comments, tell some stories, and then you start one by one inviting those people to connect with you. You connect with your past customers and real estate agents. If you have those, I have Joyce go through every couple of months and invite everybody, and about 50% of them connect on LinkedIn. Send invitations to people who have viewed your profile, so you can see who has actually gone and looked at your profile, and those are good people. It's you kind of caught them behind the scenes checking you out. So it's like, hey, why don't you go ahead and connect with me? So any questions about how to build your network on LinkedIn? Okay, posting content. So as we discussed, LinkedIn is more business oriented. But that doesn't mean that it's not social. You can kind of spin anything. You can talk about taking your dog to the vet, and then you're kind of talking about a business and your dog. Or you can just post something completely social once in a while. I wouldn't do it too often, or people will just kind of disregard you. But once in a while, that the parents post pictures of their kids' first day at school or whatnot. I don't see anything wrong with it. Life issues in the business world, whatever issue you're having, getting business, onboarding a new company, changing cities, whatever it is, whatever issues you're having in the business world, there's 1,000 people having those same issues. So you're going to get a lot of hits on that. Tell stories, show vulnerability. People don't like those highlight reels of your life. If every time you post is the fact that you just won some award, nobody really cares about that. So they want to know your day-to-day trials and tribulations in the business world. So there's 3 different ways to post. And it just depends on you. If you're a good writer, then write an article. You can do a short form post where you have maybe a photograph and then a couple of sentences, or you can do a video, which is going to be your most powerful. Any questions about that? Okay, so we talk a lot about Gary Vee, and it seems like every speaker follows Gary Vee, and I actually don't even ask them that until I just had him on the call here. But of course, he's such a major force in marketing. So what Gary Vee says for the $1.80 strategy, he gives 3 steps, but I kind of made it 4. So find the top performing post in your space. So you can see if there's a post that got 100 plus or even 1,000 plus engagements as far as thumbs up and so forth, you know, look at that and learn from it. Why was that so interesting? There's a section on the right-hand side of the screen in LinkedIn that has what people are talking about now. And it's stuff in business. You know, there's some political stuff. My advice is don't talk politics in your social media, because no matter where you fall, you're going to piss off half the country. So just stay away from politics. I mean, it's such a lightning rod today. But as far as, you know, so Loan Depot just laid off, you know, 8,000 employees. Well, you know, that's something you could talk about. Add your 2 cents in the form of thoughtful contents to these high producing, I guess, viral posts. Follow influencers and add comments to their post. People will notice your comments and want to connect or comment. So when you comment on a post, then you start getting notifications when other people comment. And, you know, you have a tendency to kind of look back and see what somebody said. And then if somebody comments or says, you know, I really agree with what you're saying, there's an opportunity to say, hey, you know, we're like-minded, let's connect. And so you can build connections that way. And people will notice your comments and they'll want to connect or comment on your comment, and you can send them an invitation. So basically, you search things that matter to your world, read the post, leave a relevant comment. Not just good job or I agree, but something that is more substantial that they're going to notice. Any questions about that strategy? Okay. So here's some additional strategies for LinkedIn. So when you invite people, there's a button that if I go and I search for Adam Fry, if I search for Adam Fry, there'll be a button to connect, and I can connect that, and then I'll have a pop-up box, and I can just say, it has a standard default is something like, hey, I'd like to connect on LinkedIn. Okay, but that's boring. So I want to write something in there on every invitation that says, hey, Adam, I noticed that you were in the mortgage business too. We know a lot of the same people. Would you like to connect? And you can use the same verbiage over and over again. You know, you can make 2 or 3, I guess, templates and just copy and paste. There's nothing wrong with that. The people won't see each other's invitations, but don't just send the default, would you like to connect? Okay, video is still key. Keep it concise. People on LinkedIn usually have a time budget. I think that the 60-second mark is a good standard. Start with the hook, not with the introduction. If you say, hi, this is Lauren Akins, they're probably you're gonna lose them by the time you finish saying your name. Just start with have you ever tried to buy a home in a seller's market? Boom, now I'm interested. Okay, so start with the interesting thing. Okay, follow interesting people that help foster your professional image. So when people pull up your profile on the right-hand side, they see about 6, 7, or 8 people that you're connected to. They can click through and see all the people you're connected to, but there's about 6 to 8 of them that pop up on the right side. You want those to be kind of interesting people that show that you're associated with a group of successful people. Okay, do not spam people with the connected pitch. Do not reach out to a real estate agent to connect and then say, hey, will you send me business? I immediately, you would not believe how many different insurance or salespeople, they say, hey, we have a lot of people that we're familiar with. I'm in Atlanta. Would you like to connect? And I say, yes. And then immediately it's, who are you using for your credit reporting services? I'd like to discuss over the phone about how to switch to my company. Okay, so all they cared about was trying to sell me. So that's not very nice. Okay, use hashtags in your posts to make them more searchable. I think we all know how to do that. Respond to all the comments you get. I mean, none of us are so busy. If somebody makes a thoughtful comment, go ahead and say something back. It helps foster the relationship. Add your profile link to your email signature. So your profile can be very pitchy. It can look like a sales pitch as far as the way it's structured and the information on it. That is your opportunity to blow your own horn and to brag and so forth. So that's okay. But your posts shouldn't be that way. And you can take that profile link that you have and put that in your email signature so that people that want to know more about you will click over and see that profile. Any questions about that? Okay, LinkedIn has good analytics. I like the fact that I can go in and I can see how many impressions my post got, how many engagements they got, and it tells me whether I'm up or down over the last 90 days. It will also tell you how many people have viewed your profile. So if you're posting interesting content, you should have more people that click over and want to see who you are. So that's a good thing to kind of take a look at. Okay, these are LinkedIn influencers I follow. I'll send this out. You obviously, know who Gary Vaynerchuk is. Shay Rowbottom is one of those on the videos. She has 782,000 followers on LinkedIn, so I want to know what she has to say. Shama Hyder is a marketing person. So is Jonathan Palmer. And some of these people are actually in the mortgage business. And then you can see me down here. I only have 3,400, but that's pretty good, right? Okay, so all the stuff I've talked about is free. LinkedIn does have upgrades and plugins. Adam Smith mentioned one of them. Lauren, what was the name of the one he mentioned? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I think Sales Navigator, maybe?
No. But anyway, so Sales Navigator is actually a part of LinkedIn. It's just an upgraded service that they have. It allows you to get more features and more data. You may or may not need this. A couple of other plugins which are really helpful, like Dripify and Octopus, they will actually set up campaigns so that when you can set up sales funnels, you can set up campaigns, you can set up autoresponders. They have a lot of neat features. The subscriptions are something in the $10 to $30 a month range. Lucia is a data extraction tool. If you want to find people's phone numbers or emails in LinkedIn, you have to search people individually to get those. If you wanted to grab like all the real estate agents' phones and emails in your area or any other category, it's not going to let you do that unless you have one of these extraction tools. InVideo is a simple video editor. As you get more sophisticated, I don't think videos need a lot of editing, but as you get more sophisticated, you may want to do some things, and that's it.
Stephen, the one that Adam had mentioned was LinkedIn Helper.
LinkedIn Helper. So that does a lot of the same. I don't know exactly what it does, but it's something to look at. Okay. The other paid thing, LinkedIn has an incredible library of videos. It is it's not like YouTube. YouTube has incredible, I mean, you could basically find how to do anything on LinkedIn, on YouTube. You could, you know, learn how to basically build a boat. You could find a video on it. But the LinkedIn Learning Center has thousands of short courses where they're set up step by step in a, it's more of a teaching mode with an instructor that teaches. And a lot of this stuff you just have to learn. I mean, nobody's born knowing how to edit a video for LinkedIn. You know, nobody knows how to, you know, when they're born, how to do Instagram or Facebook. We learn that stuff. And if we're, we didn't grow up with it, if we're older like me, then, you know, it's a little tougher to learn because it's not as intuitive. You know, obviously, if once you're proficient on one platform, it's a little easier to learn another. But if you're not proficient on any of them, I mean, you just have to take the time. What, you know, what Gary says, that, you know, you didn't know how to drive a car and then you learned, right? So there you go. And that is it for the presentation. Does anybody have any questions? Who right now, make this bigger. Hold on one second. There we go. Who right now is proud enough that I could go to their LinkedIn profile and it's decent?
You can look at mine.
It's raise your hand.
You can look at mine, Stephen. Adam.
Okay. So for the people that didn't raise their hand, then you need to really put some time into that profile, more so than you do like your Facebook profile, and make sure that that is a good representation. I mean, Brian Lavelle told me that he had HR look through just a bunch of random employees, and it didn't even have Van Dyke as their current employer. They hadn't been on there in years, and it showed like 2 companies back where they worked. I mean, you know, I guess if you're a staff person, it's not as important, but if you're a salesperson, you want it to be up to date. So please take some time. Don't disregard LinkedIn. I think that I know that it's overwhelming. You're like, I can't be everything on 10 different platforms. I don't have a big staff. I don't have a team, Gary, that works on this stuff night and day. So I understand that your time is limited, but do take a look at LinkedIn. And we are done with all of our social media platforms. I'm not going to do a deep dive on TikTok. It's I think it's still early for mortgage people. I know some people have success, and if you want to play with it, that's fine. And also, I'm just not that knowledgeable on it. But any questions about any social media? Does everybody have a gasp? Good, Adam.
So my question for LinkedIn, do you advise using the premium version?
So yes, so I have a subscription. I mean, if you can afford it, I think it's $30 a month. Then yeah, that's the LinkedIn Navigator. And you certainly don't need the one that I think they call LinkedIn Recruiter. That's overkill for us, but the LinkedIn Navigator gives you insight. And I do like the fact that it tells me specifically who's seen my profile.
Yep, thank you.
So I do think it's good value. So here's the thing, you know, you don't have to be a LinkedIn expert or a Facebook expert, but I do think to be successful in sales in the modern era, you need a social media presence. Grab hold of one, get really good of one platform, and then incorporate a second one and go from there. Any other questions? Well, have a great weekend.